Hey folks, it's Keith, Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec. Here today with another video, and this is sort of more of a fun one, something you can have a bit of fun with, although there is also a serious side to it, but it's more for fun and just a little bit of enjoyment. So this one is going to be about learning your call sign in Morse code, how to send it, or at least know the letters, and then how to listen to it, how to pull that call out. Now, your call sign is one of the most important things in ham radio. It's how you're identified, it's how people know you. Depending on how long you stay in ham radio and what activities you do, there are some people will know you by your call sign. They won't even know your name. So your call sign is really key. That's something that everybody needs to know, especially in Morse code. But even in single sideband or any of the other activities, your call sign is how you are identified. So in the case of Morse code, sending that call sign perfectly and being able to catch that call sign when someone is sending it to you in Morse code becomes key. So think about that. Everything you do in ham radio evolves around your call sign. So for today, what we're going to do is, as I said, we're just going to have a little bit of fun, but there is a serious side to it. So let's get into it. Let's see if we can help you to hear what the individual letters and numbers sound like, and maybe hear it when it is sent over the air. Because what happens? You're sitting there and you're thinking, yeah, maybe I'll take Morse code. Maybe I won't. But I think I might. So if I'm going to, I wonder what my call sign sounds like. So what do? We then go ahead and try and figure out what our call sign's like. How does it sound in Morse code? Problem is, most of us don't know how to do it properly. So what you end up doing, and I'm as guilty of it as everyone else going back a couple of years, I sit there and I get out that trusty old chart that we used to use back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And you know the one I mean, the chart with the letter and then the dots and dashes, which we now call dits and dahs beside it. And you look at that and you try and figure out what your call sign sounds like by looking at that chart. And in effect, the more you send from that chart, the more you're actually memorizing those letters. And that is the one thing you don't want to do. So let's look at a simple way for you to do it more or less properly. No memorizing. Never, never, never. Don't memorize. That will set you back on a long time on your journey to learn Morse code. So here's like I say, a bit of fun, but at the same time, some serious work here. Learning your call sign, what each letter sounds like, and then listening to your call. So you get an idea as to what it sounds like when someone sends it to you. Now, the first thing I want you to do is to go to the main page for the Long Island CW Club, and the link is down below, and we'll start from that point and work our way on from there. Now, before we start into this section, I want to mention that I am one of the instructors at the beginners level 1 or BC1. So, full disclosure, and this is one of the reasons I'm using this site, is because it's an excellent site. Now, I was someone who tried to learn for over a year on my own and eventually found the LICW here and took classes with them. And 7 months later, I was on the air. So, but again, full disclosure, I do teach for them. But I do want to show you this because it's so much fun. So if you go up to the top corner up here, you're going to see Morse practice page. Click on that. And this is what comes up. So this is the page that you'll be using to hear your call, to hear the letters in your call, and so on. So if you look over on the left side, you see student and you see instructor. You can really, there's not much difference between either. And then these are all the different levels that they teach. So you can start with the BC1, which is what I teach, where you learn the 18 letters of the alphabet that are used the most often when you're communicating with people. So it takes about 6 weeks. And then you've got a pretty good grounding for going on into BC2, which will have all the rest of the numbers and letters and so on. So all I want you to do this time round, so you're going to open this up. You're going to go to BC1 because it's not going to matter what letters we're using in this particular case because we're going to be taking some things out. But there you are. If you look down, there's the letters they teach in BC1. So the letters, like I said, 18 letters that you're going to use the most often when you're on the air and doing Morse code with someone. So after you've opened that up, BC1, just click on REA for now, which is one of the programs, some of the letters that we teach. So we would teach those three letters together. And now I want you to go down a little bit over here in the middle, click on that, the familiarity, which is where you would be listening to these letters to hear what they sound like and learn the sound. Because if you remember, I referenced that chart before where you sort of memorize the dits and das. And I said, no, that's not the way it's done now. It's done by sound pattern. So you're learning the letter by an acoustic sound. And this is how you actually learn Morse code now, not the way we did, or I did many, many years ago back in the 1990s. So click on this. So you've got the familiarity open. So now we've gone student, BC1, REA, familiarity. If you go up the page a little bit, you're going to see this I up here. Open it up. These are the letters that we would be teaching if we were doing REA today. So I just want you to delete all those letters right down to the bottom, just like that. And then what I want you to do is click in, or excuse me, type in. Then what I want you to do is type in the letters and numbers for your call. So mine's a longer call. It's actually one of the more difficult. So if I was putting mine in, it would be like this. And in capital letters are always easier. So V, down, E, down, 3. So there we are. So that's my call done sort of vertically like that. Pretty simple so far. Now, go on down, pull up the page, and you'll see where it says play. Here's what's going to come. Listen to this. Now, this is my call. You could be listening to your call. So here are the letters that come. All right, so if you wanted to do it twice, for instance, if you want to hear it more than once, you could always put loop, and it will come like this now. All right, so this time round, all I want you to do is make one slight change. So you're going to go student, BC1, REA, REA familiarity, and then I want you to do familiarity over here. And this will teach you what your letters actually sound out. And so listen to the pattern, right? It's an acoustic sound. It's the sound of that letter that you will eventually learn. So I'm just going to take those out again because same thing, we have to do what we did before. Oops, they're still there. So let's put those out because you're going to do your call sign again. So it's going to be all right. So there's my call sign in again. Now when you play, what you're going to hear is the computer will say the letter and there'll be a little pause and then it's going to play it 3 different times. So you get to hear the sound of each individual letter and number in your call sign. So here it comes. Just going to go down here and going to hit play. So here it comes.
V. E. 3. S. V. Q.
So there you go. As I said, a little bit of fun because it is fun to listen to your call sign and listen to the individual letters and numbers in your call sign and sort of understand what they sound like to other people as well as to yourself when you're listening for somebody who's maybe sending your call to you. Now, on my microphone on this particular camera does not pick up the computer sound as clearly as it would be if you were on your own computer screen. You would find the sounds of the dits and dots would be much crisper and much clearer. It just happens to be the way my camera works with this particular program. But it's an interesting way to do. And while you're here, because you're already on the practice page, why don't you go back to the main page and I'll show you again a couple of other things that you can look at. So here we are again back at the main page. Remember, there's your Morse practice page. To click on that to get the menu to drop down. Lots and lots of other information. I'm not going to go on to it here. I don't want this to be like a sales job for the club, but it's an interesting group, interesting club. There's the number of members, the number of states, presently teaching 61 countries. It's all done by Zoom. And there's your 151 classes per week. They do have a class calendar further up in here, right over here. You'll see the class calendar. So that will bring up a page that looks something like this. So those are all the classes and the times that are being taught. So again, um, nice, easy program to use, and it is one, they make it available. Why not check out everything else the club offers at the same time? Anyways, if you are thinking about learning Morse code or you're giving it some thought, well, now you know your call sign, at least what it sounds like, and a little bit of how the individual letters sound as well. And who knows, if you do take Morse code with the LICW or some other organization, or if you do it on your own, we may very well meet you on the air somewhere. So it's Keith, VE3SVQ, wishing you a great day. 73.